Public opinion on marriage is at an all-time low in the U.S. after news struck that Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt have filed for divorce.
News has struck.
All right. I don't really give a shit. I'm going to keep it real, right?
Like, I knew you couldn't contain yourself.
They're celebrities. Who cares? Like, okay, that's what happens when you leave your wife to hoe around and then, like...
Oh, apparently you do care.
And then a decade later, all of a sudden, oh, it doesn't work out. Oh, I don't know. What happened? Anyway, I don't really care about them. But it is interesting because it has to do with marriage. It has to do with love. It has to do with the issue of child custody, because they have 6 kids together, 3 of which are biological, and then 3 of which are adopted. So let me give you the details according to our sources at CNN. According to court documents, the pair separated on September 15th, but we didn't know about that, 2 years and 1 month after they married, August 2014.
By the way, but to be a little bit more, I was going to say to be fair. There's nothing being fair or unfair about this, but to give you more context, they had been dating since 2005 when they were co-starring Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
While he was still married.
Yeah, so that's when the dramas with Jennifer Aniston happened.
Yep.
And so, like me, I don't care about that, but apparently you've still been holding on to that.
I don't care. I'm just saying that if Christian runs around with some hoochie mama while he's married to me, I'm not saying Angelina Jolie's a hoochie mama, but don't mess with married men.
Okay.
You know?
So I want to talk about marriage in a second. Let's just give you the last couple of details here, because the broader story is the more interesting one.
Sure. So Brad Pitt released a statement. He says, "I'm very saddened by this, but what matters most now is the well-being of our kids." Angelina Jolie basically said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, we love our kids, please give us privacy, yada, yada, yada. It's over.
So I think it's over for marriage. So let me explain. Now, okay, you're about to get married, so this is not good news.
Well, you're married already.
Oh my God, what is this? So I'm going to tell you this in the context of, it's not personal for me. I mean, I'm very happy, right? I got a couple of kids, and my wife is great, you know, raising them great, we're happy, yada, yada, right? So it isn't about me.
Some of my best friends are my wife.
So, but look at this, man. I mean, it's not just celebrities. It's happening in real life. Over and over, 50% of people are divorced, right?
That's a misleading statistic. It depends on which demographic you're talking about. So if you get married young, the stat's much higher. But if you get married later in life, the likelihood of you getting a divorce actually decreases considerably.
So my point, look, I hear you, but we're not wired for it. Here's what I mean. So when I was younger, I thought, like, we're wired for polygamy because guys want to have sex with everybody. That was actually an unsophisticated way of looking at it. That part is true, but when you look into it a little bit more, guess who else is wired for polygamy? Women. Okay, so don't make me go into the whole evolutionary thing again, but it's certainly true. And then, but that's also not the complete picture. The other part of the picture is that we do want to mate, but what people don't talk about is we want to mate for a while. And we are built to mate and to stay together. And that's why even the most famous people, including Brad Pitt, even finally George Clooney, David Beckham, all these guys, they all get married even though they could have 1,000 women. So if we were only built for polygamy, why would they ever get married? Because we're built for both, right?
That's fucked up.
It is. That's why this is not easy. This is not easy. And so, but what people don't talk about is, look, have a biological clock. And some people write about it, right? I'm not the first to come up with it. There's been books written about it, and there's disagreements about whether it's 3 years, 7 years. But my theory is that it's as long as it takes to have a kid and make sure the kid can run and get away from the lions himself. Okay? So we're talking about 4 or 5 years in that ballpark. And so that's what happens over and over and over again. And every time, we're shocked and chagrined. Oh my God, the marriage didn't work out.
I know, but doesn't it seem to happen at a higher rate and a much quicker rate with celebrities, right?
Yes, because they have so much more opportunities.
Yeah, they have more opportunities.
So, I mean, like Bob in the middle of Nebraska, I always say, find Bob in Nebraska. Anyway, it's not like there's women being thrown at Bob and he's like, hey man, a 4-year itch, you know what I'm saying, hon? I got to run and have sex with those 28 other women or 200 other women. Whereas Brad Pitt's like, hey man, I've been hanging in here for 10 years. And I have 2,000 other choices.
Look, and also, you might be right. That might be the cause of their divorce. They listed, or Angelina Jolie is the one who filed, and she said that it was irreconcilable differences, right? So we don't know if it's because of cheating or whatever.
So I want to can I just be clear about that too? Because first of all, irreconcilable difference is the statement you always put out when it's a nice divorce. Like, oh, we're not going to rip each other to shreds.
Yeah.
We just have some differences.
Yeah.
Okay, so great. That's a great. Okay, and is it cheating? Oh, I don't know. Is it an urge to cheat? That's probably part of the equation, but I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying. We just get, like, after that, whatever that period is, let's call it 4 or 5 years, right? We then start to have all these issues. It's not just about the cheating. Do you see what I'm, like, it's hard to live with anybody, period.
Jeez.
No, but don't you?
Okay, everything's going to be fine.
Because you're constantly having to compromise. And look, I think wonderful things come out of that compromise. But it's a little harder than not compromising.
I just feel like, their constant fights over brand cereal really got to them.
But it might have.
And so, as a result, they're breaking brand. Not breaking Brad, breaking brand.
Oh, Brangelina? Okay.
Oh.
Anyways. Look, I don't want to get you too down, and obviously they're not the normal couple in America. But it's just opening a conversation to, I don't know how this gets resolved, because I don't think that this institution of marriage, the way that it's structured now, is going to last forever. It's obviously got some structural issues. On the other hand, what do you do with the kids? And so now they have a ton of money, so it makes it a little easier on them because they can fly back and forth, et cetera, even if they're not in the same city. But, for the rest of us, it's not that easy. And so I've seen a lot of my friends get divorced. I've seen a lot of people that I know get divorced.
Doesn't it actually make life a little easier, though? Because if you share custody, then you're like free 50% of the time.
So actually, if it works out beautifully, which it does on some occasions, there's an argument for that.
Yeah.
Where you go, hey, you know what, 50% of the time I'm with my kids and I love it. The other 50% of the time, I go to the movies, I go play golf, I do whatever I want,
Yeah.
I have sex with the tennis instructor, whatever you want, right? Okay, that was a woman who did that, by the way. Anyway, and other times it doesn't work out that way because you have a job in one city, she has a job in another city, right? Or 1,000 other bad things happen. So look, life is complicated, and not just for Brangelina, but for the rest of us too. And there's no quick answer to this, but we all have to figure this out together because we're barely holding this marriage thing together with duct tape as a society. Even if some people, again, 222 have good marriages. Become a TYT member today.
Can't do it.
No, you really can. You just go to tytnetwork.com/join.